No, si querés hago, no sabía. Pensé que era interno lo de ellos. Just say hi to everybody, greet them. As soon as we finish the first session, we'll start with you. Is that okay? Good afternoon, everybody. We're greeting you as we're about to start our next conference. We are already live on the internet, not only by Zoom, but we're also live on YouTube, on SARAS channel. So we're happy to greet everybody today. And I wish to remind you that we have simultaneous interpretation in English on a secondary channel of YouTube. And we will briefly be starting our session for which is the second day of this event called Food and Crisis Resiliences. As part of the organization of this cycle of the events of the organizing and coordinating committee, I wish to give you some general announcements. As I was saying, we are transmitting live on YouTube. We are also recording this session. This is the closing session after a whole day of workshops. I will shortly be giving the floor to my colleagues. They will be saying a few words, and very soon we will start with a more interactive way, or experiential, if you wish to say, with this proposal of connecting our tables. So those of you who wanted to be part of this, we are about to start very shortly after this session. And to remind you that this is the closing session, which is a summary and the words of key institutions. And then we will have a kind of virtual cocktail or toast to thank all of you for this wonderful event that we've held these past 2 days. Let's start then. I will say hello and give the floor to Esteban Jojobi, and Jorge Marcone, who are also part of the organizing committee. Thank you, Silvana. Hi, Jorge. I think we've had a lot of experiences and meetings, very fruitful meetings in these past 2 days. And I believe that this has led us to think about how knowledgeable or how wise we are with regards to food. Silvana introduced all of these events, and she talked about the difference that exists between knowledge and wisdom. We have come closer to wisdom, I believe, now with regards to food, what we eat, how we do it. But wisdom is different from knowledge, especially because there's a moral concept to this. It's the judgment that a wise person has. And the society and the individuals make decisions. And this component of intelligence linked to knowledge must also have justice beside it so that we can have a better world. And we've seen different aspects throughout the event as to how we should be going towards that better world. It touches the human, it touches nature, other beings. And in that sense, I think a key part of this is the state in all its part, its policies. For example, some gaps that we see. What are we going to do with the advertisements that invite us to eat things that are not healthy? What should we do with this very complex topic? And what should we do with the health system, which is global? It's far bigger than a local concept. And also, governance is much more than just governments. We can govern from institutions that also have power to move things. We can govern also when we create knowledge and wisdom. And this complexity is a challenge when we look at it from so many different aspects, but it also shows us the other side of the coin, which gives us a lot of opportunities to make transformations. And I hope that everybody has found that these events have been fruitful. And in my particular case, I am very, very happy that we were able to catalyze the discussions for transformation about the world, how we see it today, and especially how we eat today. So thank you very much. And Jorge, you have the floor. Thank you, Esteban. I will start with my thank you to Gabriela, Marcela, Pablo, and Silvana for organizing and leading this event over the past 2 days. I also want to say how much we owe to Lori Bess Clark, our peer from the Advisory Council, and thank her for all her patience throughout all of these years. And also our colleague Nestor Maceo, who's the director and has given us all the support that we need to move this forward. I have the feeling that in the past 2 days, it's been obvious that we are living in a transition towards more sustainable eating habits and food habits. We are living in a moment of regrouping forces and reconsidering strategies and transitions. On the one hand, how to make the pandemic an opportunity. Although on the other hand, it seems that sometimes we might be going back to the old normal. But those changes that we've seen during the pandemic, how can we make them sustainable? Especially what's happened locally, nationally, with popular pots, ollas populares, giving food to the most vulnerable, and the young people who have been leading these programs. And also we do this from the point of view that in the history of the nutrition campaigns, some have told us that they are pessimists with regards to things going or changing easily, in spite of the new initiatives and new ventures are going the other way. Changes in policies seem not to arrive fast enough. The impact of decision makers is limited, and we all seem to have our look on education, and that's an investment for the long term. I won't insist on my analysis of the problems, because we know that in this group very well, but I do want to reflect on a claim that we had the first day, and also to have time to think about regulations for new diets and new habits. In general, in spite of what I've just said about being pessimistic, I believe that I've heard very good stories, happy stories, where it's very clear that there's a feeling of pleasure from the actors who are usually involved in actions which can be translated into well-being and a good mood. We've also heard that creating synergies and communities is very important. However, I ask myself, not being critical, but just out of curiosity, I wonder if this synergy is cross-cutting enough. Are we reaching more sectors? Are there no ideological limits or class limits or gender limits, race or age limits? Everything that I've been hearing in these past days makes it seem that there are no limits. It is cross-cutting. But however, I must say that I have the feeling that this is still a question we should ask ourselves. So the news stories, we're talking about new stories or new narratives because we want this to be more cross-cutting, and this will create new synergies, new beliefs, new practices, narratives about new communities, about our home lives, new stories about the feeling of empowerment or where we live, of new identities about our bodies. And however, they will also have to be stories that will be able to connect with other identities. Some identities will resist this transition. And finally, it's very clear to me that one of the tasks that we have before us is that this will for a transition of food systems that are more sustainable, and these changes in our diets, these things are happening already because of the pandemic. We must make an effort to be present in the stories when they write the history of the pandemic. All of these initiatives must be present there in the narrative. At the beginning of the pandemic, during lockdown, many of us imagined the new normality, the new normal. We had the hope that this crisis would bring about new opportunities and new behaviors. I believe that the changes that we've been seeing require that the history of this transition is written as a main chapter when they write the local history or the national or the global history of the pandemic. And even though it's a difficult battle, future generations will need to find the records of the history of everything that has been done in these areas during the pandemic. Thank you. Thank you, Jorge and Esteban, for that summary, that poetic summary, I would say. And now I wish to give the floor to Cecilia Fernandez, President of Sector. I've lost her, sorry. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation to say a few words on behalf of the university during the closing session. I don't really like to speak at the closing of an event where I was not a participant. That's why I think it was very interesting to hear the summary of Jorge and my other colleague. And I have a few comments about how well it went in these past days, and also the trust in SARAS, and also in the program and the activities. We could see that it was very enriching, and I undoubtedly think that this is a world problem, a global and a human problem. So we need to continue having these kinds of events to have collective action where we can have the participation of the academy, of public entities. This is the path we must follow, and it seems that SARAS is the great place to organize these kinds of events. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to say hello to you, to thank you, and to congratulate you for this event. I believe this is one of the first events. I think there will be more in the rest of the year, and I hope I will be able to participate in one of the following and listen more to what you have to say. Unfortunately, I am right in the middle of another seminar of the university, and that's the reason why I couldn't participate in this event. It seems that now we are all going from one Zoom meeting to another Zoom meeting, and we have our agendas full, but I just wanted to say hello to everybody and thank you very much. So I hope we will see each other in future events. I know that after the institutional words, you will be having something which is more fun to close the event. So thank you and success. Congratulations for the 2 past days. Thank you, Cecilia. Yes, you have been present in other ways, so thank you very much. And we hope you will be able to participate in the following events. Now we will give the floor to the Minister, Adrián Peña, Minister of the Environment, recently created ministry. We have a video of him. Thank you very much for inviting us to participate in this event. And in particular, it's a pleasure for the Ministry of Uruguay to be part of the closing session. As you know, this is a new ministry. It's the first Ministry of the Environment that we have in the country. And these are the first months of activity that we have. So we are just starting to construct our institutionality. But it's good to address all the issues that have to do with the environment, and especially looking at the following 20 or 30 years with regards to sustainable development. In this regard, for us, it's very important to participate in as far as we can promote all the practices of sustainable production. And we are also trying and facing concrete actions with regards to productive transformation from a productive model to another. Some people say that we are what we eat, and partly it is true, but there's a whole cultural construction. A lot of it has to do in our country with its identity, and it has to do with food and what we eat. And there's also a lot to do with future generations that has to do with different eating models. So the commitment of this ministry to talk about sustainable development, to talk about sustainable production, is from now on. Also, it is our competence to talk about the conception of waste. The law that we have in our country, in one of its articles, gives us the competence to this ministry with regards to waste. And it is an issue what we know as food waste globally. It's a problem that I also have personally, because when I was a representative in Parliament, we presented a draft bill that had to do with the prohibition of throwing away food in big box stores or big supermarket stores. And we presented this at the beginning of our mandate, hoping that it would be approved. And also the commitment of this ministry when we are facing an issue that has two problems. On the one hand, an ethic problem, clearly, because we cannot produce quantities and have people suffering hunger. And also, we have to see what we can eat, but we must be able to distribute all this capacity that we have of food. And then there's the economic problem, because obviously food waste shows a production problem, an economic problem. It is clearly a symptom of inefficiency with regards to the economy. So I think we are facing a very, very big challenge which belongs to the government, and that continues to be our commitment. And we want to go more in depth in this path, especially today, in times of post-pandemic, in times when these things have another value, and in times where all of the society must assume a greater commitment. Thank you very much for inviting us, and congratulations for your initiative. Now, let's continue. We see the opportunity for a lot of new dialogues in the current context. This is just a map that we've been using during the event. Now, talking about food, we had to close with, obviously, a toast. Here we have some images of our kitchen, and the food is ready. The proposal that we had for this final closing session is to connect the tables, to share stories related to food, emotions, feelings, connect. And we made a proposal. I think I will give the floor to Senator Embarco, who organized this with some students, with Laura Beth Clark and Michael Peterson. If you wish to have the floor, we can start then. Hi from the USA. We're in the kitchen. Miguel, Lori Beth, also Andrea. And some people here have cooked with us in these past 2 days. We started yesterday morning and we continue today. We just finished before this meeting, and we will give the floor to Andrea to organize ourselves. You have to unmute. Thank you very much, everybody. What we wanted to do was to talk about the dishes that we have made. In my case, for example, I've made rice and chicken, which is a Peruvian recipe. Reminds me of my grandmother. That's from Peru, where my family comes from. That's why this is what I prepared. Rice with chicken, and I'm going to just go and get it. I'm in my kitchen. I think you can see it there. I would like to invite participants to tell us about the dishes that they have cooked, maybe answering why is this special for you? Does this dish have something special for you, special meanings? I would like to tell everybody that everybody can unmute their microphones and tell us about the dishes that they have prepared. Like Andrea was proposing. If anybody wishes to share. Here we have Analia and Gustavo who want to share. I wasn't able to cook anything. I ate everything that I prepared in the past days. Here I have a kefir. It's a tea, and now I'm going to eat something very quickly. I wasn't able to prepare any food because yesterday the school was suspended, so I didn't have time to prepare anything else, especially also with all the workshops that we've been having. So I have nothing to show you. I have a lot of ideas, but I haven't been able to cook anything. I would also say that the kefir is also an election. Not everybody knows what it is. Yes, this is the kefir. I'm preparing it. It's probiotic. This is the only thing that I can maintain for now. I also have some tomatoes from my own house. I can't do much more. Gustavo, you want to say something? Okay, we're going to show you what we have here. We have empanadas. They are beef, roasted beef empanadas, and these are seafood empanadas. This is bread, yeast. This is masa madre, bread. Before COVID, we also traveled with masa madre to Uruguay. It's a little bit flat today. Now that we have empanadas, what kind of empanadas are they? Seafood empanadas. The problem we have here with empanadas is that when we open the package and we don't use all of them, all of the content, we have to, sometimes we have too many leftovers and we can never finish them. Let's go to somebody else's house. Yes, I was able to prepare something also. There you can see what I cooked. These that I had. This is kind of like rice with lime. I have some kind of a guacamole. Also carrots and also hamburgers of black beans. I cooked all of this. It's all vegetarian and vegan also. What I did was just use everything I had. And I also tried to do something fast because I had a lot of work to do. But I like to give flavor because I usually only eat vegetables. There's a wide variety of vegetables. And I also like to make those flavors intense. I like to use spices. I am mixing a lot of spices that I got from Uruguay. I like to explore spices, maybe because my roots are from Lebanon. And I also have some spices some spices that my friends brought me from Turkey. So I have lots of things to choose from. That's the story of my dish. Also, we saw what people wrote on the chat, and we can see that there are a whole lot of things on the table. Even though they weren't able to cook them, they have written on chat. Mariana, what did you cook? Well, today I ate empanadas while I was finishing making my presentations for the workshops. Homemade empanadas, but not made by me, made by someone else. I was in a hurry. And now I'm having coffee with milk. I think it was great to share this meeting. I would like to share one of the products from the pandemic. This is a pumpkin, a plum pumpkin, as we call it. When I live with Maria, my partner, in an apartment, and there's a whole lot of forest around it. Nobody goes to the forest. So I started going out there with my partner and a neighbor, and we started thinking about cleaning part of the forest, cleaning the waste out of the forest. And in 3 months, we made this a place to plant crops. We had a lot of rainfall last year, and the pumpkins grew naturally. We hardly had to irrigate them. This is one of our crops. We also have another pumpkin called Angola and some other types also. We're going to cut this in half, and we are going to put beef into it, also other vegetables, and then we will decide what else we can put to it. That's wonderful. What about the rest of the production? The Angola pumpkin is what we use to make sweets. We have to cook it, and then we put it in a container, and you can keep it for a very long time. It's a sweet. That's wonderful. If you keep pumpkins in a fresh place, you can keep them for a very long time. Does anybody else wish to share? I'm going to tell you something that I don't know if Lori Beth and Michael know. During the pandemic, I bought an electric pot, kind of like an instant pot that I program. And yesterday we did a mochuelo, which is a fish. It's a wonderful pot. You can do feijoada, which is a Brazilian dish. Yesterday we bought a mochuelo at the port, which is a fish. It's very tasty. And you can already buy it in pieces. You can put zucchini under it. You can put more vegetables on top. You can put spices. Then you close the pot, and it's ready in 10 minutes. And it takes out all the bad things of the fish. They dissolve. You can also put rice to it, pasta. That's what we did last night. Yes, during the weekend, we also cooked feijoada in our instant pot. Hi, everybody. It's great to say hi to all of you from Mexico. this parents' garden. But I want to show you a typical ingredient of Mexico. I hope you can see it. Does somebody know what it is? This is an ingredient that we have traditionally here from the southern part of Mexico. It's very interesting because there are a lot of towns around the state of Oaxaca that protect an endemic grasses where you can get this, and then you can put spices on it. And clearly this ingredient is very popular today, and the demand has increased. So local communities are protecting these grasses around the city. And it's interesting to see how the chapulín, which is this, it's a very important element to preserve certain ecosystems that are in danger today, especially with the urbanization growing. These are with lemon, salt, and chili, and they are delicious for this time of the afternoon. There are a lot of people who want to taste that. Everybody, I think, would like to taste it. I don't want to taste it, but for other reasons. Some of us already tasted chapulines. Today I'm missing them very much, the chapulines. For us, today we have to go out and shop. We have to go out shopping today. We're lucky to have a very good Korean restaurant that sell organic products. We are working today until late. So today we are going to have takeout in a responsible way. Also, my two daughters are in love with one of the guys at the restaurant who works at the restaurant. So I have to go and take my daughters there to see him once a week. I would like to ask Andrea to share her recipe of rice and chicken, because that is the Peruvian recipe, which is a great contribution to the people of the world. This is not just simple rice and chicken. It is very special. I think that she should share the story of this in Peru. This is very special, of course. I think every family has its own specialty, but we use cilantro, onion, pepper, but my grandmother puts black beer into the recipe, and that makes it so special. I think it's so wonderful. Jorge, do you cook rice and chicken in a different way? Well, not in my family, but my wife's family cook it in a different way, and they do it wonderfully. They make it very spicy. Everybody sits at the table and they cry when they're eating this because it is so hot and spicy. But they all have a wonderful time. And what we did at home, we had a lot of dishes that came from the Amazon, and most of them are unknown in other areas. What are you eating today in Sweden? And also, Nestor, what are you eating? Well, right now, somebody cooked for me. This blueberries and nuts, that's the only thing that I was able to eat today. But now I'm very lucky and I am eating an omelette. It's an omelette here, or a French tortilla. In Sweden, I don't know if I'm a good representative of Sweden, but in general, we eat a lot of potatoes. There's a very funny story that my father, he's Uruguayan. When he came to Sweden, he was first living in the fields of the newcomers. And there weren't many Uruguayans. So after a few weeks, they were so tired of eating so much potatoes. And they wanted to protest against eating so much potatoes. They said, no more potatoes. That's what they were protesting. They thought it was, it's boiled potato, mashed potatoes. But in general, I think that we eat a lot of fish here in Sweden. And also, like most of Europe, it's a very globalized, we eat very globalized dishes. There's a big trend in the past years. There's pig meat, which is eaten a lot, but young people are eating meat less every day. Thank you, Matilda. Nestor? Good afternoon, everybody, or good evening. I am still here in the lab. I wanted to tell you that what I'm doing right now in these days is arasa jam. It's a native fruit. And I am going to keep a jar to share with you when we meet again. Arasa is a very special fruit, and it's very difficult to describe the flavor. It's because it's very different from everything else. You start describing things that are similar to arasa, but not many things have similarities with arasa. It has like an astringent, and I will make sure that you see it when you come. What's very interesting is that I've just received a message from Marcos and Isabel, and they're saying, well, since you've been out of your house for so long, go and buy some meat and we will make an asado or a barbecue. Yes, we continue with our emissions here because we cannot stop eating asado in Uruguay. Thank you, Nestor. What we wanted to do at this time, I don't know if Lori Beth or Michael have other comments, or Andrea, but to close, we wanted to, what we usually would do would share a dinner or have some coffee or eat snacks when we had conferences, on-site conferences, but we weren't able to do it. So that is why we made this up, and we are talking about preparing dishes. This is very important for us. These are things that are very important for us in our lives. Sometimes we suffer in a way because we can't eat or we can't cook. So sometimes it's good to have other people cook for us. Podemos poner un hashtag. We can put a hashtag so other people can share. Yes, everything that people are writing there is coming down, is being published on our website. Are there any other comments? Okay, then. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for sharing. And now we will just have our final closing words. And some reminders. As we've mentioned before, this is the first of 3 events that make up this cycle. The next event will be held in June, and it's called Food, Society, and Nature Synergies. We will soon be telling you the exact date in June. We're going to try to make it not as intense as this one, but we will try to make it better, or maybe more global or holistic with regards to participation. And we cannot finish without thanking all the people who participated in this event in different ways, and also to show you, this is only a partial list of the participants. On the one hand, we've had, this is a toast time. We have to toast. We've had the organizing and coordinating committee. We have all of these people who are part of the team. I want to say their names because they've been working with us for lots of months. Matilda Baraiva, Lori Beth Clark, Lisa Deutsch, Esteban Jobaji, Silvana Yuri, Nestor Maceo, Mariana Mirhoff, Micaela Trimmel, Mauricio Chegum, Gabriela Torquio, Fiorella Polcaro, and Gabriela Bardesio. This is the organizing and coordinating committee. We've also had the technical support, fantastic support during this virtual event of Pablo Amendola, and also the participation of Patricia Wild and Rosina Duford in simultaneous interpretation in English and Spanish. They have been following us and translating. We also wish to thank the exhibitors and panelists, our guests, who have participated in excellent manner, sharing a lot of ideas with regards to their institutions and their expertise. Juan Rocha, Maria Rosa Curuchet, Ezequiel Arrieta, Alejandra Girona, Guillermo Ortuno Crespo, Miguel Sierra, and of course, also all the participants, everybody who has attended the workshops, actively participating yesterday and today, and especially all the workshoppers and the participants. This has been a marathon today. I think we have been able to make a lot of progress with regards to dialogues. We have new channels, new paths, new ways to keep working. And as we've said before and yesterday in the organizing committee, this is just the beginning. It has allowed us to come closer to each other. This is a very, very vast topic, and we hope that we can continue going more in depth in the coming weeks and months. So thank you very much. All the information is uploaded on our website. You can look at the channels. You have all the channels for SARAS, the website, and the dialogue is open. So the only thing that we have now to do is take a picture. This would be like toasting. And congratulations and my applause to everybody. I would like to ask you all to put your cameras on so I can take a picture of everybody. I know that we don't all look very good today. Some people have mate, some people have their glasses. Okay, let's toast, everybody. And we'll meet again in June. Thank you again. Okay, you didn't hear the click, but I took the picture already. Thank you, everybody. If anybody wishes to make any comments, on my behalf, thank you very much.